Welcome to the SportsCapping.com podcast with free handicapping advice, odds insights, picks, and predictions to help you beat the sportsbook. And now your hosts, Jack Jones and Brandon Lee.
You're tuned into the SportsCapping.com free pick podcast. I'm your host, Jack Jones. Brandon Lee will be joining me here in a minute. We started a basketball free pick podcast last week. We gave out 4 free picks on Tuesday night for Wednesday's slate of games, and we each went 1-1 for a 2-2 week. Brandon won on the Nets +4 over the Rockets, but lost on Penn State as a pick'em against Iowa. I lost on the Clippers -2 against the Jazz, but won on Boston College +12 over Louisville. Not the greatest first week, but we didn't kill anyone. This week we'll both be giving out 1 free pick each again in the NBA and college hoops. For Wednesday, Brandon, that was a sweet win on the Nets in overtime last week.
Yeah, it didn't look good last couple minutes of regulation. That was a very fortunate cover, and we'll take all those that we can get.
Yeah, in overtime, I mean, I thought it looked okay in regulation, I think, but overtime, I don't know, they were down 7 and scored like the last 10 points of the game. It was really, I think they deserved to cover in regulation, but, so I think it went the way it was supposed to go.
Nice, yep.
I had a thrilling win on Boston College. They were up double digits in the first half, getting 12, and I started to really count my chips. Then all of a sudden they were down by double digits at halftime, and then they got down by as many as 20 in the second half before a big finish and a 10-point loss as 12-point dogs. That game exemplified the swings you'll see in basketball. It makes it one of the most entertaining and also frustrating sports to bet. But I do love basketball. It's been my best sport over time. I'm the #1 ranked basketball capper at SportsCapping. All-time $1,000 per game basketball bettors up over $190,000 since 2012. Also the #3 ranked basketball capper this season. Admittedly, I've had a rough couple weeks here after a huge start to the season, but I'm confident it won't last. And I've gone 3-1 to start this week on the hardwood Monday and Sunday and Monday. Brandon, let the listeners know how you're doing on the hardwood.
Yeah, everything's going really well right now. Red hot, 59%, 66-46 run dating back to December. Absolutely killing it on the pro hardwood. #1 ranked NBA handicapper the last 30 days. Heading into Tuesday's card, I've gone 36-17, 68% over my last 53 NBA plays. That includes a ridiculous 24-6 run on my last 30 NBA ATS plays.
Nicely done, man. Let's get into these free picks. Keep in mind that these are Tuesday's opening lines at BetOnline that we're using, so they're likely to move by Wednesday morning. And I know, like last week, I know you had Penn State as a pick'em. They closed -3.5, and I had Boston College +12. They closed +10.5. The line move didn't come into play. It came real close on Boston College, but just so you guys know that these lines will move. But this is the best we can do. We want to get it out as early as possible for the listeners, and let's get into these free picks. What's your NBA free pick for Wednesday, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Denver Nuggets +3 on the road against the Utah Jazz in the nightcap of Wednesday's ESPN doubleheader. I think a lot of people are going to look at this line and be tempted to take Utah as a small home favorite. Even though the Jazz just lost their last game at home to the Blazers, Utah had won 6 straight and were 8-1 in their previous 9. This is a team that I think a lot of people like to back at home when they're playing well. The thing is, I think their success of late is a little bit misleading, and we saw some of that, in the loss to the Blazers. During their 8-1 run, the 8 wins were against the Cavs, Clippers, Pistons, Bulls, Lakers, Magic, Pistons again, and the Cavs again. I mean, that's a lot of teams in the basement of the NBA standings, and then the Lakers without LeBron and a Clippers team that's really fallen apart here of late. So for a lot of that stretch, the Jazz were playing shorthanded. They were down Ricky Rubio, Dante Exum, and Raul Neto. Rubio did return in the loss to the Blazers, but he was on a minutes restriction. He didn't start the game also. He only ended up playing 14 minutes. I think, if they're going to limit him to just, that small time in his first game back, I would expect, maybe a slightly bigger role this one, but still a very limited one. So I'm not expecting a lot from him here. I just think Utah is a tired team right now, and I think they're going up against a very motivated and well-rested Nuggets team. Denver hasn't played since Saturday, when they followed up a 135-105 rout of the Bulls with a 124-102 win against the Cavs. Both blowout wins came right after that ugly home loss to the Warriors. I just think that defeat really humbled Denver and has them refocused. This is a team that I think is going to play really well all the way up to the All-Star break now that they're finally, back to 100% healthy, minus, Isaiah Thomas, who hasn't really played yet. It's also a team that I think, when they are at full strength like they are right now, I think they're the second best team in the NBA behind the Warriors. And it's not just Jokic, who's incredible, but the depth they have is really strong. I think this is a statement game for the Nuggets, who have covered 12 of their last 16 inside the division. Utah has failed to cover 4 straight against a team that's won more than 60% of the games. And I just think they're not as good at home this year as they have been in the past. They've already lost 9 home games this season, and they lost 13 all of last year. Give me the Nuggets +3.
Yeah, I definitely like the spot for the Nuggets coming in on 3 days rest, but it's not like the Jazz are too tired here. They're only playing their second game in 5 days. They are coming off a loss. So, if anything, I do lean towards the Jazz, mainly because when looking into this game, I saw the home team 9-0 straight up, 9-0 against the spread the last 9 meetings. Nuggets 2-7 against the spread their last 9 road games, and the Jazz 9-1 against the spread last 10 games following a loss. So a lot of things definitely in favor of the Jazz that's keeping me off the Nuggets. So I'll root you in here, Brandon, on the Nuggets +3.
For sure, yeah. I don't base a lot of my stuff off what's happened in the past, more so, what the matchup is and the spot for the teams. So numbers definitely aren't good going back, but Denver hasn't been this good in quite a while.
Yeah, for sure. This is the best Nuggets team in a long time, and now that they're fully healthy, they're scary for sure. I don't totally disagree that they're the second best team in the NBA when they're healthy either. So, yeah, definitely the past history doesn't always matter. I'm going to take the Hornets +1 at the Grizzlies as my free pick. Fading the Grizzlies has been the best bet you could have made over the last month plus in the NBA. Grizzlies are just 3-17 straight up, 3-17 against the spread their last 20 games. I just think they're starting to get burnt out, and they're playing their 4th game in 6 days here. 6 of their last 8 losses have come by double digits. The Hornets come in on 2 days rest, so they should be fresh. And they are playing well coming in, too. They've won 3 of their last 4. They won by 15 at San Antonio, 7-point dogs, and then they beat the Kings by 19 and the Suns by 20 at home. They did have a bad loss at Indiana, but that was on the second of a back-to-back. And now they're rested after that bad game. The Hornets definitely have had the Grizzlies number 2. They've gone 6-1 against the spread the last 7 meetings. They've won 5 of the last 6 meetings straight up. Memphis just 1-8 against the spread the last 9 home games. Grizzlies also 1-9 against the spread their last 10 against Eastern Conference teams. Memphis 0-7 against the spread their last 7 against a team with a losing record. I just think the Hornets are the better team here. They just got to win to cover, so I'm going to be on them.
Yeah, no way I'm betting on the Grizzlies right now. Clearly something wrong with this team. You go into a game against the Pelicans having lost 5 straight and 11-12, and you lose by 20 at home. And that's a New Orleans team playing without Anthony Davis. I can't trust them. But then again, I look at this line and I'm like, why are they a favorite here? So Charlotte is a team that, they're not great on the road, but I'm with you. I think they should be able to win this game. I'm not sure why, Memphis is still laying points right now. But
yeah, it seems like
whatever, I guess.
The lines have been... They just haven't adjusted too much on Memphis for how bad
they were so good early. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
they just
that's the big thing. That's the big thing because they started out so hot that they're not adjusting. So, I mean, I know at some point there's going to be a time when you need to bet Memphis, but I don't think it's right now. Yeah. All right, Brandon, let's move on to college basketball. What's your free pick for Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the Big Ten here, and I'm going to take another home team. I'm going to take Ohio State plus 1.5 at home against the Purdue Boilermakers, which is a game you can find on the Big Ten Network. I just think we're getting some really good value with an Ohio State team that is playing a game that they have to feel like is a must-win. The Buckeyes were sitting pretty at 14-1 and 2-0 in the Big Ten when they started back up conference play in January, but a home loss to Michigan State, back-to-back road setbacks at Rutgers and Iowa, and then another home defeat to Maryland has Ohio State sitting at 2-4 in the Big Ten. Add in the fact that their next two are on the road. And this is probably a game that they need a win to, really keep that NCAA tournament hopes alive. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you do in non-conference if, you're 3 or 4 games under 500 in the Big Ten. So as good as the Big Ten is, they've got a lot of work to do, and this is one they just can't afford to lose. The good news here is Purdue is a team I think they can beat, especially at home. Boilermakers have arguably the best player in the conference in Carson Edwards. With that, I think comes with a little bit of a line inflation and why we're seeing, them laying points on the road here. It's definitely not a team that I think should be favored against a team like Ohio State. Offense has really been the problem for the Buckeyes during this 4-game losing streak. But Purdue's a team that's not great defensively, especially on the road. They're giving up 75.6 points per game and allowing teams to shoot 48% from the field on the road this season. Ohio State, on the other hand, is a very good defensive team. Buckeyes only giving up 65.2 points per game at home. And Purdue's offense is not nearly the same on the road. Boilermakers average 78.2 points per game overall, but just 68 points per game on the road. They're also shooting just 39% from the field away from home. Ohio State's most recent loss to Maryland came by a final score of 75-61. That's significant because the Buckeyes are a perfect 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 games, following a double-digit loss at home. The underdog is also perfect 6-0 in the last 6 in the series. So I just think we're going to get a max effort from Ohio State, and I just feel like they'll be able to come through for us, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won here going away.
Yeah, man, I'm a little gun-shy here because Ohio State has cost me big time lately. I've been on them 3 of their last 4 losses, so I was really big on them their last game. They lost by 14 at home to Maryland. I still think Ohio State is better than they've shown during this 4-game losing streak. And now as a home dog, it's probably time to buy low on them, and it's also a good time to sell high on Purdue, having won 6 of their last 7. 5 of those 6 were at home. 5 of those 6 wins were at home, with their lone road win coming in overtime in Wisconsin, lost by 18 at Michigan State. They're just 1-4 straight up in true road games this season, the Boilermakers. So I think you're on the right side here, Brandon, and I'll probably be on Ohio State again myself.
Yeah, the thing I've learned is you just don't bet against Maryland because that team is sneaky good.
Yeah, no doubt. Maryland, yeah, I have lost a few times going against Maryland.
They've got some young kids mixed with those veterans. They've been playing really well.
They shoot the 3 ball great. They share the ball great. I'm not in any hurry to go against Maryland anytime soon. So yeah, I think it's probably more about Maryland than it is about Ohio State as far as why Maryland won that game going away. And I mean, it was a close game until it got away from them in the second half. So I'm going to take TCU minus 4.5 as my free pick at home against Texas. TCU's lost 3 of their last 4 coming in, but all 3 losses were on the road to Kansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas State. Their only home game during this stretch, they won by 31 over West Virginia, and this definitely feels like a get-right game here for the Horned Frogs. They are back home where they're 8-1 this season, outscoring opponents by 13.5 points per game. Texas has lost 3 of its last 4 coming in as well. Road losses to Kansas and Oklahoma State, and a home loss to Texas Tech. They only beat Oklahoma by 3 as 5-point favorites at home, and the Longhorns are now 1-4 against the spread their last 5. Home court advantage has been huge in this series. The home team is 6-1 straight up, 6-1 against the spread the last 7 meetings. TCU has won 3 straight home meetings with Texas, including the last 2 by an average of 15.5 points per game. Horned Frogs 7-1 against the spread their last 8 home games coming in. They're also 9 2-1 against the spread their last 12 following a loss, and 10-3 against the spread their last 13 overall. So I just think this line's a little bit short for me here, especially with how well the home team has fared in this series.
Yeah, tough one for me. I a little bit gun shy with playing TCU myself. I am just not completely sold on this team. Texas is a team that I think, though they're 11-7, are a lot better than their record. Their most lopsided loss of the season is 10 points to Michigan State. Their 7 losses are by a combined 31 points, and TCU's lost 4 games by 32. So I definitely feel like the home court here is big, but if this line keeps going up, we've seen it kind of jump. I think there's a couple places leaning towards 5. So if it keeps moving, I might consider playing Texas, but for now, I'll just root you in.
All right, man. Yeah, we did our lines. We updated our lines right before the podcast, and TCU opened at 4, and it's up to 4.5 and 5, and Ohio State opened 2.5, and it's down to 2 and 1.5. So I like to see that. I like to see that the early money's on the same teams we're on. So hopefully we get both of those home. That's going to do it for this week's episode. You can find Brandon and I at sportscapping.com or betfirm.com. Hit me up on Twitter at betfirmsjack. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. Please feel free to leave a review. We'll be back next week with 4 more free picks for Wednesday's Hoops action.
Thanks for listening to the SportsCapping.com podcast. For more free picks and predictions, be sure to visit us at SportsCapping.com.